Megan Cole stood at the observation window of the deep space vessel Horizon and watched the stars drift by like frozen tears. She had been on this ship for 7 years now. 7 years of hiding. 7 years of pretending to be something she was not. The Galactic Confederation had found humanity 30 years ago. They came from the stars, expecting to find simple creatures, primitive beings still learning to walk among the cosmos. Instead, they found something that made them afraid. Humans were different from other species. They adapted to everything. They survived everything. They never stopped fighting, never stopped pushing forward, never stopped growing stronger. But there was something else about humans. Something even more terrifying. The scientists called it the Fenrir Protocol. It was a program hidden deep in human genes, placed there by an ancient race that had seeded life across the galaxy thousands of years ago. Most humans would never know it existed. But 1 in every 10,000 carried the active gene. And when that gene woke up, usually through great pain or fear or loss, it changed them into something else. Wolves. Not the wolves of old Earth stories. These were something far more dangerous. When the change happened, human bones would crack and reform. Muscles would grow thick and strong. Fur would cover skin. The human would become a beast built for one purpose only: war. The Confederation had seen what a single awakened wolf could do. They had watched humans tear through their best soldiers like paper. They had seen wolves survive wounds that would kill any other creature 10 times over. And so they learned to fear humanity in a way they feared no other species. Megan was a wolf. She had been one for 6 years. She remembered the day her wolf woke up. The siege of Kepler Station. She had been a simple engineer then, just 23 years old, working on the station's power systems. The Vorn raiders came without warning. They were insect-like creatures with 4 arms and black shells that could stop most weapons. They lived for battle and blood. Her unit had tried to hold the engineering section. 12 good people. Her friends. Her family in all the ways that mattered. The Vorn killed them all in less than 5 minutes. Megan had hidden behind a broken console, covered in the blood of people she loved, watching as the Vorn searched for survivors. One of them found her. It grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. She could still remember the clicking sound of its mandibles as it prepared to bite off her head. That was when the wolf woke up. The pain was beyond anything she had ever felt. Her bones broke and reformed in seconds. Her skin tore as silver fur pushed through. Her hands became claws. Her teeth became fangs. And something ancient and angry took control of her mind. She killed 47 Vorn soldiers in 11 minutes. She tore through them like they were nothing. She painted the walls of Kepler Station red with their blood. When the relief forces finally arrived, they found her standing alone in a room full of bodies, covered in gore. Still in her wolf form, but the change back broke something inside her. Shifting from wolf to human should have been smooth. It should have been easy. Instead, it felt like being torn apart all over again. Something cracked deep in her soul. Her wolf, the beast that lived inside her, was damaged, broken. It still existed. She could feel it scratching at the edges of her mind, but it could not fully emerge anymore. It was like an engine with missing parts, grinding and sparking but never starting. A broken wolf meant death. The Confederation had rules about such things. Wolves that could not shift were considered unstable, dangerous. They were sent to research facilities on Luna, where scientists would cut them open and study their gifts until nothing remained. Megan had seen the reports. She knew what happened to wolves who could not perform. So she hid. She requested a transfer. She changed her appearance. She buried her wolf so deep that even she sometimes forgot it was there. She became Megan Cole, simple maintenance worker, invisible and unremarkable. For 6 years it worked. The Horizon was a good ship, large enough to get lost in, busy enough that no one asked too many questions. She kept to herself, did her job well, and spoke to no one about her past. The crew thought she was quiet, shy, maybe a little sad. They had no idea what lived beneath her skin. Sometimes at night, when the ship was quiet and the stars seemed close enough to touch, she would feel her Wolf stirring. It would whimper in the darkness of her mind, reaching for something it could not find. A pack, a family, a purpose. She would push it down, tell it to be quiet, promise it that someday things would be different. She always lied. The announcement came over the ship's speakers at 600 hours on a Tuesday. The captain's voice was carefully neutral, but Megan could hear the tension beneath the words. The Alpha King was coming aboard. Megan's broken Wolf went absolutely still. Then it began to howl. Connor Vance, the most powerful Wolf humanity had ever produced. The man who had ended the Thraxian War single-handedly. The king who commanded the loyalty of every awakened Wolf in human space. He had a pack of over 200 warriors scattered across the fleet, and every single one of them would die for him, without question. The Confederation had created his title after watching him tear through an entire Thraxian battle group. Alpha King, they called him, though rumors said he hated the name. He was humanity's greatest weapon, their proudest achievement, and their most terrifying secret, all wrapped in one man. And he was coming to her ship. Megan gripped the edge of the observation window until her knuckles turned white. Her Wolf was screaming now, scratching at the walls of her mind, desperate to reach out to its king. She could barely think through the noise. She had to hide. She had to find somewhere on this ship where he would not find her. Because if the Alpha King discovered what she was, if he sensed her broken Wolf, everything she had built in 6 years would crumble to dust. She was already moving when the docking alarm sounded. The ship shuddered slightly as the Alpha King's shuttle connected to the main airlock. Megan ran. She did not know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Her Wolf howled behind her, and for the first time in 6 years, she could not make it stop. Connor Vance walked through the halls of the Horizon like a ghost searching for something it had lost. The crew moved out of his way without being asked. They pressed themselves against walls and held their breath as he passed. He was used to such treatment. He had been the Alpha King for 5 years now. And in that time, he had learned that ordinary humans would always fear what they could not understand. He was tall, broad across the shoulders, with dark hair that had turned gray at the temples long before its time. His eyes were the color of storm clouds, pale and cold, and filled with something that made people look away. He wore simple clothes, black pants and a gray shirt, nothing to show his rank. He did not need fancy uniforms. Everyone knew who he was. The captain of the Horizon met him at the airlock with nervous smiles and too many words. Connor listened politely, nodded in the right places, and forgot everything the man said as soon as he said it. He was not here for conversation. He was here because he was dying, and somewhere on this ship might be the answer to saving his life. The Thraxian bioweapon had been meant to kill him quickly. Instead, it was killing him slowly. It had done something to his Wolf, twisted it, poisoned it. Now the beast that lived inside him was eating him from the inside out. The doctors gave him 6 months. Maybe less. Connor had accepted death a long time ago. Every Wolf did. They were weapons, and weapons eventually broke. But he could not die yet. Not until he found the precursor facility hidden somewhere in the unmapped sectors beyond Confederation space. Not until he learned if the ancient technology there could save his people. Because his wolves were dying too. The bioweapon had not just affected him. Every Wolf who had fought in the Thraxian War carried traces of it in their blood. It spread slowly, silently, passing from Wolf to Wolf through their pack bonds. In 10 years, maybe less, Every awakened wolf in human space would be dead. Connor could feel them all. That was his gift, his curse, the thing that made him Alpha King. He was connected to every wolf, bound to them through bonds deeper than blood. He felt their pain, their fear, their hope. He carried all of it on his shoulders, and the weight was crushing him even faster than the poison. The captain was still talking. Connor held up a hand, and the man went silent immediately. There was something on this ship, something that called to him through the noise of the crew and the hum of the engines. A wolf, but not just any wolf. This one was different, damaged, hiding. Connor tilted his head and breathed deep. The scent was faint, buried under layers of recycled air and artificial cleansers. But it was there, female, young, and broken in a way that made his heart ache. He knew that kind of broken. He had seen it before, in wolves who had shifted too hard or too fast, who had pushed themselves beyond what their bodies could handle. Most of them did not survive. The ones who did were usually sent to Luna, to the research facilities where scientists would study them until they were nothing but data on a screen. But this wolf had survived. She had hidden herself somehow, buried her nature so deep that even the Confederation's sensors had missed her. She had been alone for a long time. He could feel the loneliness coming off her like heat from a fire. He dismissed the captain with a wave and began to walk. He did not know where he was going, only that his wolf was pulling him forward, following the scent of the broken one. The mess hall was crowded when he entered. Crew members sat at long tables, eating dinner and talking in loud voices. The noise stopped the moment he stepped through the door. Every eye turned to look at him. Connor ignored them all. She was here. He could feel her now, her broken wolf scratching at the edges of his awareness like a wounded animal seeking its pack. His wolf stirred in response, reaching out through the bonds that connected him to all his kind. He found her sitting alone at a table in the corner. Brown hair pulled back in a simple tie. Green eyes that widened when they met his. A face that might have been pretty if it was not so carefully blank. She wore the simple uniform of a maintenance worker. Gray coveralls stained with engine grease. Nothing special. Nothing remarkable. But Connor could see what lay beneath the surface. He could feel her wolf crying out for help, for connection, for something it had lost long ago. She stood up before he could reach her. For a moment, their eyes met across the crowded room. He saw fear there, anger, and underneath it all, a desperate hope that she was trying very hard to crush. Then she walked out. Connor stood frozen in the middle of the mess hall, surrounded by staring crew members, and watched her go. His wolf howled inside him, demanding that he follow, that he catch her, that he bring her back where she belonged. He did not follow. Not yet. A broken wolf was like a wounded animal. If you pushed too hard, too fast, she would only run farther. He needed to be patient. He needed to let her come to him, but he could not wait long. He did not have that kind of time anymore. That night, Connor stood at his window and looked out at the stars. He could feel her somewhere on the ship, hiding in the dark places where she thought no one would find her. Her wolf was whimpering, reaching for him even as she pushed it down. She did not understand yet. None of them did until it was too late. Every wolf was connected to him. Every single one. It was not something he had chosen. It was simply what he was. The Alpha King, the center of the pack. The heart that all the others beat in time with. Her wolf knew this, even if she did not. It knew that he was its king, its leader, the one it had been waiting for since the moment it first woke up. It would keep reaching for him no matter how hard she tried to stop it. Connor closed his eyes and sent a thought out through the bonds. Not words, exactly. More like a feeling. Safety. Acceptance. Home. Somewhere on the ship. He felt her broken wolf go still. Tomorrow, he would find her. Tomorrow, he would ask her to come with him on his journey. Tomorrow he would offer her something she had not had in a very long time. A pack. He just hoped she would say yes. The shuttle was small and fast, built for missions that required silence rather than comfort. Megan sat in the back and watched the stars blur past the windows as they traveled deeper into unmapped space. There were 4 of them on this journey. Connor sat in the pilot's seat, his large hands moving across the controls with practiced ease. Beside him sat Grace, a woman with red hair and sharp green eyes who moved like water, smooth and dangerous. Her mate Daniel sat behind her, a quiet man with dark skin and kind eyes who rarely spoke but seemed to see everything. They were wolves, both of them. Megan could feel their presence pressing against her awareness, 2 bright flames burning steadily in the darkness. They had been bonded for 10 years, Grace had told her. They moved like 2 halves of the same whole, finishing each other's sentences, knowing where the other was without looking. Megan had never seen a bonded pair before. She had read about them in the old files, wolves who found their perfect match and joined their souls together forever. It was supposed to be rare, beautiful, dangerous. Looking at Grace and Daniel, she understood why the trip took 3 days. 3 days of silence and stars and the growing feeling that they were heading somewhere important. Megan spent most of her time staring out the windows, watching galaxies drift past like scattered diamonds. Her wolf was calm for the first time in years. It seemed to know they were going somewhere good. On the second night, Connor found her in the small observation deck at the back of the shuttle. She was sitting alone, her knees pulled up to her chest, watching a nebula paint colors across the darkness. He sat down beside her without asking permission. For a long time, neither of them spoke. "Tell me about Kepler," he said finally. Megan flinched. She had known this question would come eventually. She had hoped it would come later. "There is nothing to tell," she said. "The Vorn came. Everyone died. I survived." Connor turned to look at her. In the colored light of the nebula, his eyes looked almost purple. "That is not what happened." "Not really." Megan was quiet for a long moment. Her wolf stirred inside her, pressing against her chest like it wanted to break free. "I loved them," she said at last. "My unit. They were my family. When the Vorn came, I watched them die one by one. I was hiding behind a broken console, too scared to move, too scared to help." She paused. "When the Vorn found me, I thought I was going to die too. Part of me wanted to, but your wolf woke up." My wolf woke up, and it was angry. She closed her eyes, remembering. I do not remember most of what happened next. Just pieces, blood, screaming, the feeling of my claws going through Vorn shells like they were nothing. When I came back to myself, I was surrounded by bodies, 47 of them, and I was covered in their blood. Connor nodded slowly. He did not look disgusted or afraid. He looked like he understood. And the change back broke you. It felt like being torn apart. My wolf would not let go. It wanted to stay, to keep fighting, to find more things to kill. When I finally forced it back, something cracked. She opened her eyes and looked at him. "That is why I am broken. My wolf and I do not trust each other anymore. It is afraid I will cage it forever. I am afraid it will never let me go." Connor was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "My wolf and I do not trust each other either." He held up his hand, and she could see the trembling in his fingers. "The bioweapon did not just poison my body. It poisoned the bond between me and my wolf. We are fighting each other constantly now. Some days I do not know where I end and it begins." Megan stared at him. She had never imagined that the Alpha King could feel broken too. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know that you are not alone." He turned to face her fully. "Every wolf carries damage, Megan. Every single one. We are weapons, and weapons get worn down with use. The question is not whether we are broken. The question is what we do with our broken pieces. He reached out and took her hand. This time, she did not pull away. They reached the moon on the third day. It was a small frozen world orbiting a dead star, unmarked on any Confederation map. As they descended through the ice clouds, Megan felt something stir deep in her chest. Her wolf raised its head, suddenly alert. "There is something here," Grace said from the co-pilot seat. "I can feel it. They all could." A presence, ancient and vast, waiting somewhere beneath the ice. It was not alive, not exactly, but it was aware. And it was watching them. The entrance to the precursor facility was hidden beneath a glacier, a door of black metal that had not opened in 15,000 years. As they approached on foot, wrapped in heated suits against the freezing cold, machines began to rise from the ice. They were beautiful and terrible, constructs of living metal that shifted and changed as they moved. They surrounded the four wolves, scanning them with lights that felt like fingers pressing against the mind. 3 Confederation Marines had followed them. They had been hiding in the shuttle, sent by someone in the fleet who wanted to know what the Alpha King was really searching for. The machines killed them in seconds. Megan watched them die, cut apart by weapons that moved faster than thought. Then the machines turned to the wolves. They scanned them again, longer this time, deeper. Megan felt something brush against her broken wolf, examining it, measuring it, and then the door opened. "They are letting us in," Daniel said quietly. His voice was filled with wonder. Connor stepped forward. His face was pale, but his eyes were bright. "They recognized the Fennery gene," he said. "We are what they were waiting for." They descended into the frozen dark, leaving the dead Marines behind. The door closed after them, sealing out the ice and cold and everything they had been before. Whatever waited below would change them forever. Megan's wolf howled with anticipation, and for the first time in 6 years, she howled with it. Megan spent 3 days hiding in the deepest parts of the ship. She slept in the engineering bay, surrounded by the hum of reactor coils and the smell of burning metal. She ate in the maintenance tunnels, stealing food from the cargo holds when no one was looking. She avoided every camera, every patrol route, every place where the Alpha King might find her. It did not matter. He found her anyway. She was checking a broken power coupling in cargo hold 7 when the door slid open behind her. She did not need to turn around to know who it was. Her wolf had already told her. It was screaming in her head, howling with joy and fear and something else she did not want to name. The door closed. The lock clicked. They were alone. Megan kept her back to him and continued working on the coupling. Her hands were shaking, but she forced them to be still. She would not show weakness. Not to him. Not to anyone. His footsteps were heavy on the metal floor. Each one sent a shiver down her spine. He stopped about 10 feet behind her, close enough that she could feel the heat coming off his body, far enough that she could not run. "You are one of mine," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. It was not a question. He already knew the answer. Megan finally turned to face him. Up close, he was even more impressive than she had expected. Tall enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Broad enough to block the only exit. But there was something wrong with him too. She could see it now that they were standing close together. His skin was too pale. His hands trembled slightly at his sides. There were dark circles under those storm-gray eyes. The Alpha King was sick. "I do not know what you are talking about," Megan said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Connor tilted his head and studied her. His nostrils flared as he breathed in her scent. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. "Your wolf is damaged. I can feel it. It is like a missing note in a song, a hole in a picture that should be whole." He paused. "How long have you been hiding?" Megan said nothing. Her wolf was clawing at her insides, desperate to reach him, to show itself to its king. She pushed it down with everything she had. 6 years, Connor said. He was not asking. He already knew. The siege of Kepler Station. You are the ghost. Megan flinched. She could not help it. That name had haunted her for years, whispered in the dark corners of military bases and intelligence reports. The ghost of Kepler Station. The wolf who killed an entire Vorn raiding party and then vanished without a trace. They said one wolf killed 47 Vorn soldiers in 11 minutes. Connor continued. Then she disappeared. Command assumed she died. He took a step closer. But you did not die. You ran. I should have died, Megan said quietly. Her voice cracked on the last word. Connor shook his head slowly. His eyes were filled with something that might have been understanding. Survivors do not get to choose when they die. We only get to choose how we live. He reached out and touched her hand. The moment their skin met, Megan felt something break open inside her. Her wolf surged forward, pressing against the walls of her mind, trying to reach him through the touch. She gasped and pulled away. What do you want from me? She demanded. Her back hit the wall behind her. There was nowhere else to run. Connor did not pursue her. He simply stood there, watching her with those pale gray eyes. I want you to come with me, he said. I am searching for something. A precursor facility hidden in the unmapped sectors beyond Confederation space. The ancient technology there might be able to heal what is broken. In you. In both of us. Megan stared at him. For the first time, she let herself really look at the sickness in him. The trembling hands. The pale skin. The way he held himself, like every breath was a battle. What happened to you? She asked. Thraxian bioweapon. He said it simply, without emotion. It is killing me slowly. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe less. But that is not why I need to find the facility. Then why? Because my wolves are dying too. He moved to the wall beside her and leaned against it heavily. For a moment, he looked old, tired, broken in his own way. The bioweapon spreads through pack bonds. Every wolf who fought in the Thraxian War carries it now. In 10 years, all of us will be dead. Megan felt her heart stop. All of them. Every awakened wolf in human space. The 200 warriors who had given humanity its greatest victories. The protectors who had kept the Confederation afraid to attack. Gone. Come with me, Connor said again. He turned to look at her, and there was no command in his voice now. Only a request. Only hope. I cannot force you. I would never try. But your wolf deserves a chance to be whole again. And I need every wolf I can find if we are going to survive what is coming. Megan wanted to say no. She wanted to push past him, run back to her hiding place, pretend this conversation had never happened. She had spent 6 years building walls around herself, and he had torn them down in minutes. But her wolf was quiet now. For the first time since Kepler Station, it was not howling. It was waiting, hoping, reaching toward the king who had finally found it. There is no us, she said weakly. I am not part of your pack. Connor smiled. It was a sad, tired smile that made him look almost human. Every wolf is part of my pack, he said. Whether they want to be or not. It is the burden of being king. He pushed off the wall and walked toward the door. Before he opened it, he looked back at her one last time. Think about it. We leave in 3 days. If you want to come, meet me at Docking Bay 4 at dawn. Then he was gone. And Megan was alone with her thoughts and her wolf and the terrible, wonderful feeling of hope that she had not felt in 6 long years. That night she dreamed of running through silver forests on a world that had never existed. Beside her ran a great black wolf with storm-gray eyes. They ran together beneath twin moons, and for the first time in her life, she did not feel alone. When she woke up, her decision was already made. The precursor facility was alive in a way that nothing should be after 15,000 years. Lights flickered on as they walked through corridors of black metal and crystal. Machines hummed to life around them, ancient systems waking from their long sleep. The air was warm and clean, filled with a scent like rain on distant forests. Megan walked beside Connor, her Wolf pressing against her mind with a feeling she barely recognized. Hope. Pure. Simple hope. The facility knew they were coming. It had been waiting for them. They found the central chamber at the heart of the complex. It was vast, larger than any room Megan had ever seen, filled with floating platforms and spinning rings of light. In the center stood a column of pure white energy that reached from floor to ceiling, pulsing like a heartbeat. The precursors built this place, Connor said softly. His voice echoed in the enormous space. They created the Fenrir Protocol. They made us what we are. Why? Grace asked. She was holding Daniel's hand, her sharp eyes moving across the chamber with careful attention. Connor walked toward the column of light. As he approached, images began to appear in the air around him. Alien symbols, star maps, scenes from a past so distant it barely seemed real, because there are things in the darkness between stars, things that even the precursors feared. They seeded the galaxy with life, but they knew that someday those things would find their children. He touched the column, and the images changed. Now they showed creatures of shadow and teeth, things that moved through the void like nightmares made flesh. So they created guardians, weapons. Us. The wolves, Daniel said. The first wolves. Connor turned to face them. His eyes were glowing now, soft golden light bleeding through the gray. This facility remembers. It knows what we were meant to be, and it knows how to fix what is broken. He looked at Megan then, and she felt her heart stop. Step into the light, he said. Let it heal you. Megan stared at the column. It pulsed with energy, warm and welcoming, and somehow alive. Her Wolf was screaming at her to move forward, to step into that light and let it burn away all the cracks and wounds that had defined her for 6 long years. She was afraid. What if it does not work? She asked. What if I am too broken to be fixed? Connor crossed the distance between them. He took her face in his hands, tilting her head up to meet his eyes. You are not broken, he said. You are wounded. There's a difference. Broken things stay broken forever. Wounded things can heal. He kissed her forehead gently, like a blessing. Go, he said. Your Wolf has been waiting long enough. Megan walked toward the light. Each step felt like a mile. Each breath felt like her last. When she reached the edge of the column, she stopped and looked back. Grace and Daniel were watching with hope in their eyes. Connor was watching with something that looked like love. She stepped into the light. The pain was beyond anything she had ever imagined. It was worse than the first change, worse than the breaking, worse than every lonely night she had spent hiding in the dark corners of ships that were never home. The light poured into her, finding every crack in her soul and filling it with fire. Her Wolf rose up to meet it. For the first time in 6 years, it pushed forward without restraint, without fear, without the broken bonds that had held it back. It merged with the light, bathed in it, let it wash away all the damage and pain and loneliness that had defined it for so long. And then the cracks sealed. Megan felt herself become whole. Her Wolf settled back into place, fitting perfectly now, no longer grinding against her like a broken machine. They were one. They had always been one. She had just forgotten how to believe it. When the light released her, she fell to her knees gasping. But she was smiling. For the first time in 6 years, she was truly smiling. Connor stepped into the light next. What happened to him was different. The facility recognized something in his blood, something ancient and royal, something that went beyond the simple Fenrir protocol. The true heir, the machine seemed to whisper. the one who carries the blood of kings. When he emerged, the sickness was gone. But something else had taken its place. He was connected now to every precursor machine in the galaxy. Thousands of ancient weapons and facilities that had been sleeping since before humanity discovered fire. They were waking up. All of them. And they recognized Connor as their master. He stood in the center of the chamber, golden light streaming from his eyes. And Megan understood that the galaxy had just changed forever. They emerged from the facility at dawn. The moon's slow rotation had brought the local sun over the horizon, painting the ice in shades of gold and pink. Megan breathed in the cold air and felt alive in a way she had not felt in years. Connor caught her arm before she could walk back to the shuttle. His eyes still held traces of golden light, mixed now with their natural gray. "The facility showed me something," he said. "Something about you." Megan's healed wolf stirred, curious but calm. "Your name is not Megan Cole." It never was. She stared at him. The precursors kept records. Bloodlines they were tracking, wolves they planned to wake when the time was right. "Your ancestors were chosen 15,000 years ago." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth coming from his skin despite the frozen air. "Your true name," he said softly. "The name written in precursor code. The name your wolf has carried since before humanity learned to walk upright." He leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. "Elena, you are Elena of the first pack, and you were always meant to stand beside the king." Her wolf howled. Not in pain, not in desperation, but in joy. In recognition. In the ancient knowing of a creature finally called by its true name. "Elena," Megan whispered. And the name fit like it had always belonged. When she shifted for the first time in 6 years. Her fur was no longer silver, it was gold. She stood beside Connor in the dawn light. 2 golden wolves beneath a rising sun, and she knew that this was only the beginning. The precursor machines were waking. The darkness between stars was stirring. And humanity was about to learn that their wolves were so much more than weapons. They were guardians, protectors, the first and last defense against the horrors that lurked in the void. And they were finally ready to fight. Behind them, Grace and Daniel shifted too, their wolves silver and beautiful in the morning light. 4 wolves stood on the ice, bound together by something older than time, something stronger than blood. A pack, a family, a promise. Elena raised her head and howled at the rising sun. Connor joined her voice with his own. Then Grace and Daniel added their songs to the chorus. The sound echoed across the frozen moon, traveled through the void, reached the sleeping machines scattered throughout the galaxy. Everywhere. Ancient systems began to wake. And in the darkness between stars, something hungry heard the howling and began to move. The war was coming. But for the first time in 15,000 years, the wolves were ready.